Welcome everyone, this is Andres Restart, and today we are talking about how it appears there may be a strong chance that the Nintendo Select line will be returning alongside some other major Nintendo Switch hardware discounts leading into Nintendo's next generation. In other words, a lot of people are going to be able to save a lot of money on Nintendo games potentially later this year. So what's going on? Well, that's what we're talking about today. But before going forward, let me point out that we are aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers, perhaps by the time Nintendo Switch 2 comes out. So if you do enjoy my content, please subscribe and hit that notification bell, leaving a like is also super helpful, and enjoy the ride as we attempt to talk about Nintendo every day. So the initial story here is that some Nintendo games, Switch games, are going out of print. And with these games going out of print, some are thinking that this could be a sign that the Nintendo Select line is on the way. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what the Nintendo Select line is, that's basically just a select amount of Nintendo titles that have been re-released in a new packaging at a cheaper price. But I do think there's a fair bit of confusion as to what games are going to be entering this Nintendo Select line. We do not actually know, and technically Nintendo hasn't even announced this Nintendo Select line yet. There are other possibilities to explain why these games are going out of print. But let's talk about the games we actually know for sure are going out of print. So Nintendo here pointed out that Paper Mario the Origami King, the North American physical release, is out of print now. But then a day later, Nintendo also discovered that Pikmin 3 Deluxe is unavailable at Amazon, Best Buy, GameStop, Target, out of print. Still available at Walmart though. And then Metroid Dread, not available at Walmart, Amazon, GameStop, or Target, just still available at Best Buy. And so these three fairly popular Nintendo games are going out of print, and what that means is that it doesn't look like Nintendo is sending in any more versions of these games. So once they sell out, once they go out of stock, they're gone. And so many are thinking that this could be a sign that they are pulling these games out, games that are popular by the way, they've all sold a few million, but because these games don't have the evergreen sales, in other words, they don't continue to sell, they just had strong initial sales, Nintendo is going to take them out of print and then re-release them down the road at a discounted price in the Nintendo Select line so they can pick up more sales. But the other possibility here is Nintendo simply clearing up space, not wasting resources, and prepping themselves for the next generation, which many believe will be starting this year. And my belief is that both have a strong chance to be happening. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Typically, we do see the Nintendo Select line or discount Nintendo games start to become more prevalent leading towards the end of a generation or in the beginning of the next generation. So I do think seeing these Nintendo games going out of print is another drop in the bucket of Switch 2 evidence being around the corner. Of course, that doesn't necessarily tell us when exactly it's coming out, just fairly soon. And fairly soon, there's a large window there, but still most think 2024 is the time, myself included. However, there has been this list going around that includes more games than what we've already discussed. So on Reset Era, Neozon started this thread pointing out Nintendo's observations on these games going out of print, and then also brought to the attention that Shadow Link was also able to uncover that certain Nintendo games on the US Amazon site are also going out of print. And so here's a list here. You got Origami King, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Link's Awakening, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, Metroid Dread, Kirby Star Allies, Xenoblade 2, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Fire Emblem Engage, which came out January of last year, not that long ago, just a year ago, Yoshi's Crafted World, WarioWare Get It Together, Nintendo Switch Sports, Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, Mario Maker 2, and Mario Strikers Battle League. Now, what Nintendo pointed out himself is that a lot of people have been sharing out this list saying all of these games are going out of print. But the important distinction to make here is that this list is just games that are not available on the Amazon US site. And so this could be a sign that they may be going out of print in other places soon, but they're not necessarily out of print right now. And so that's just some clarification there. That said, one thing we do know is that already some key Nintendo titles are going out of print, and these games, and perhaps some of the other games we're seeing on this bigger list that are not available on Amazon, will be coming Nintendo Select titles not too far from now. Now, what would this mean? This would mean that the games would be cheaper, right? And so what price are we talking about here? Well, in the past, we've seen Nintendo Select titles at $19.99 USD, basically 20 American dollars. And this has even happened for some Wii U games, and Wii U games were priced at $60. So it is possible that we could be seeing some Switch games that were initially priced at $60 go all the way down to $20 for this Nintendo Select line. However, given inflation and that given Switch titles in general are more consistently more expensive than prior generations, I think a more fair expectation might be $30 to $40. It's hard to say for sure. It's been a few years since Nintendo has announced Nintendo Select titles, so they may come at us with a different price point here. So my range is 20 to 40, 20 being a best case scenario, 40 being the worst case scenario here, in my opinion. But still, it seems there's a chance that these games are going to be at discounted prices. Even not accounting for the fact that we have now seen that some games are going out of print, with Nintendo's next generation console upon us, Nintendo is likely to announce price drops for their current generation. For example, when Nintendo announced the Wii Mini, they also announced more Nintendo Select titles that were being discounted. And what's interesting about this is that the Wii Mini came out just a few weeks after the Wii U released. But also what's interesting is that we saw the release of the new 2DS XL come out July of 2017, just a few months after the release for the Nintendo Switch. And even in 2019, Nintendo was announcing 3DS Nintendo Select titles. So even well into the Switch generation, we were seeing announcements for discounted 3DS games. And so the ultimate point I'm trying to get here is that we have history where Nintendo not only is announcing Nintendo Select titles after a new console comes out or close to when a new console comes out, but also new, cheaper hardware as well. And so this brings me back to some speculation we pointed out a few weeks ago, how it looks like there's some evidence suggesting that not only will Nintendo be announcing Switch 2 this year, but also maybe another cheaper model for Nintendo Switch. Very much in the same way they did it when they had the Wii U come out with the Nintendo Wii Mini, and also when the Switch came out with new 2DS XL. So for those out there saying that it's weird to suggest that Nintendo would announce a revision the same year as the next generation console, it's not weird, because historically speaking, that's what Nintendo has done more than once. And it actually makes more sense than what you may realize, because we're thinking Switch 2 may come out and be at $400 American dollars. That's kind of expensive compared to what we have now. And not everyone's going to want to move up. A lot of people may still feel like the Switch as it is currently is too expensive. And we've yet to receive an official, widespread price drop for the Switch models. And so what I think is a more likely expectation is that we see price drops for the current Switch models, or some of these models are phased out and they introduce cheaper models as well. And this trend is actually supported by some recent evidence, because we've seen from ChosenBiz.com that Nintendo has requested from Samsung next generation OLED panels for multiple IT devices, seemingly suggesting that they'll have more than one type of system that will be receiving OLED panels in the not so distant future. And so I think what's going to happen is that we're going to see the Switch Lite and the original Nintendo Switch versions phased out. They will also go out of print. But instead, they will price drop the Nintendo Switch OLED, maybe down to $300, and they will also introduce a cheaper model, the same way they've done this multiple times in the past in the same years as the release for their other prior new consoles. And we'll see maybe something like a Switch Lite, but with an OLED panel. So maybe a cheaper, better version of the Switch Lite that has OLED panel. Maybe this time it'll be able to dock into the Nintendo Switch, and so maybe we see a $200 price point, a $300 price point, and a $400 price point for the Nintendo Switch 2, and this could be Nintendo's new pricing structure. But alongside this new pricing structure and these price drops, we also see Nintendo bring out the Nintendo Select line, and we see a number of Switch titles that are at discounted prices, and this gives these games the opportunity to sell more, especially alongside cheaper versions of the Switch family. And so the Switch will continue to push forward, gain sales, have momentum, even when Switch 2 comes out. Because Nintendo doesn't want to kill the Switch when they announce the Switch 2. What they want to do is have as seamless of a transition as possible. In other words, they want Switch 2 to come out and do extremely well, but they also want Switch to continue to do as well as possible for a couple more years as the Switch 2 builds up an audience. And the best way to do that? Start discounting your systems and your games, as we've seen Nintendo has done many times in the past. And so with this report of Nintendo looking to get next generation OLED panels for multiple IT devices and multiple key Nintendo titles that have sold millions going out of print, I think the overall implication here is that we are on the cusp of seeing some significant price drops for Nintendo stuff this year. And that's pretty exciting. But that's what I make of this recent information of these Nintendo games going out of print. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. This is Andres Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.